their hopes and goals are to, work as an esthetician and just feel joy in their job for the next 40 years. Or maybe their dream is to start their own product line or their own, expand their spa business, whatever it is. I just think peeling back the layers, because a lot of times people will have a why that's like, oh, I want to help people, or I want to
make women look and feel their best.
Yes, I want to make women look and feel their best. That's a great one. I want to pay for my kids' college. It could be any of these things. And they sound so great when you share them with other people. You gotta go deeper. And it doesn't mean it's a different why. It means take that why and start going deeper, because I feel like we have to be doing something that's truly meaningful to us, that's so much bigger than ourselves, to be able to lean on and keep going.
Can you tell me I'm just curious, how long did you have this idea in your head?
Well, it was a couple of years, because I was just trying to find anything that would work. And, one thing that happened that sort of put me over the edge, that I think is really important just to share, especially with anyone out there who, whatever phase they're at in their business or their entrepreneurial journey, is early on, I had a blessing that I look back now and go, thank goodness that happened. And it's really what put me over the edge to really launch this thing and go for it. And, we hear so many amazing thought leaders talk about your why and identifying the why of your business and your brand and your mission. And what I know now, because I've now had the gift of just meeting tens of thousands of entrepreneurs over the years. And a lot of people, I think, they think their why is strong enough, but they haven't actually done the work to peel back the layers and go deeper and get to the why beneath the why, that's so powerful that they can lean on it when the times are super tough and they're tempted to quit. And when I look back at this moment after having this idea for a couple years, one thing that happened so, I guess, serendipitously, or out of sheer grace, I should say, is that, initially I thought oh, okay, I can just create a makeup product that if it works for me, it'll probably work for so many other people. So my why could have very easily been I'll solve my own problems, but I'll help so many other people too. And I think a why like that is why so many entrepreneurs fail. And here's what I mean by that. Because when we share a why like that with someone else, they're like, that's great. That's so virtuous. That's awesome. And then we think it's enough. We think it's enough if we have a why that's I'm going to help people or this or that. Because, I did want to help people. But what happened, and I want to call this out for anyone listening, because I think this is really important. Challenge yourself, whatever you believe your mission or your personal why is for your own company. And this isn't something that has to be part of your mission statement. I'm more talking about as a founder, your personal why for why you're doing what you're doing, or perhaps why you have a big goal that you're working on. Is take your why, but then literally go deeper, peel back the layers and try to go deeper to the deep why beneath the why. And in my case, what happened is I realized at this one moment, and this is what put me over the edge to launch everything, was I was I don't understand. This makes no sense that there are so many companies. Why do none of them work for me? And then what I realized was wait, I've actually never seen a model who has bright red rosacea selling makeup products, right? And then I started thinking about growing up as a little girl. And what I realized is every time I would see the beauty ads on television or in magazines, I loved them. I aspired to, look like them. But at a real deep level, they always made me feel like I wasn't enough. And I had this big moment where I realized okay, I want to launch products that work, but what if when I launch a beauty company, what if I can actually use real people as models and all different ages and shapes and sizes and skin tones and skin challenges and call them beautiful and mean it. And what if I could actually shift the definition of beauty inside the entire industry for every little girl out there who's about to start doubting herself and every grown person who still does. And it was kind of this huge, crazy idea for someone that was sitting there with no money, no connections, not sure how it was even going to happen. but I got that deep, deep, deep why that was so not just painful, but really meaningful, purposeful for me. And that came early on. And, after I jumped into entrepreneurship and, poured every penny I had into it, I didn't know it would be 3 years before I could even afford to pay myself at all. I didn't know that I would get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of no's. And I think that as founders, as entrepreneurs, as people with big dreams on our heart, we need like a toolbox of things we can pull from that help us maintain our resiliency. And for me, I think one of those real important tools was really that deep, 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 meaningful why, where I realized, okay, what I'm doing is bigger than myself. It's not just about me, right? And the last thing I'll say to this really quickly, because I think sometimes people think their why has to be some like global, grandiose, thing. Sometimes your why, your deep why, may have nothing to do with your actual company, but your deep why may be like, I'm going to be the first person in generations of my family to break a cycle of poverty or of lack, or I'm going to be the first person that, goes for it and doesn't let self-doubt hold me back in my entire family, right? It could be, there's deep whys, or I want to show my children what it looks like to go after a dream. There's a lot of different whys beneath the why, but I think identifying one of those that really truly hits home is such a key, because being a founder or an entrepreneur at any stage, right? I've kind of seen a lot of different stages, from no money, no one believes in you, you're about to go bankrupt for a few years, to private equity investment and massive growth, to we built to over 1,000 employees. And when we eventually were acquired by L'Oreal, it was our largest acquisition in the US in their history. And then I was part of the largest beauty company in the world as well. So it's kind of like I've seen inside all those, and they all come with their challenges. But I think no matter what phase you're at, having that deep, deep why beneath the why is super, super important to do the work for. It's worth spending the time in, for sure.
Yeah, wow. This is really fascinating.
I want to kind of circle back here, because one of the things that I kept getting out of the book, and for those of you listening, this is actually the first physical book that I have read in so long. We have babies about the same. I have a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old. And yeah, so, being pregnant, I had a pandemic baby. It's like Audible is the thing. And I said, no, I'm going to get the physical copy. And I'm so glad I did, because of the pictures that are in the squirrel picture. Oh, I read that at like the perfect time. But if you guys have the Audible, get the physical book. Like, it is so worth it to be able, and then the beautiful picture you shared with your daughter, like that, there are just so many moments that it's so open. Like, I feel like I know you, I've never met you in my life. And I'm going through this book and like, wow, like she really just bared her soul, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
But what really came through in the book is how driven you are by your why. And this why to change the beauty industry, to change the way that, to really make real women the star of the show. And I'm curious, now that you've sold your company, now that you've become a mom, now that you're in a different place in your life, are you still driven by that same why? Or has it kind of expanded in a way now that you're an author and so on?
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think too, the power of your why. And one of the things I talk about in here, that I'm so excited you're doing a book club and everything else, because I think doing the work of the why, but then peeling back the layers and going so much deeper on the why beneath the why. I think that so many people, whether they are estheticians or spa owners or launching their own product line, or a person that just has a goal in their goal journal, so many people will come up with a why, if they've even done that, right? A lot of people don't do that. They'll see companies have a big why or a mission statement, but then for their own goals, they don't attach a why to it. And I think it's so important to do that, because it makes us so much less likely to give up When we have a really strong why, we can lean on it when times get tough. And one thing I just want to share, especially for your community, is the importance of not just having a why that sounds really good, that when you share it with other people, they're like, that's amazing. Often that why still isn't deep enough to make you not quit when times get tough, or to, keep going when you feel like no one else is believing in you. And, for my why, I could have just said, oh, I want to create a product that solves my own problems, or I want to create products that help so many other people. And that would have been true. It would have been true. But one thing, and again, I did so many things wrong, as you know, that I talk about in the book. One of the things that I did right was I peeled back the layers on the why, like to the why beneath the why. And this is what I want to challenge everyone to do as well, to something that was really deep. And for me, I had realized my whole life, I had seen these kind of commercials on television and in beauty ads, and of what the world told me beautiful looked like. And I always aspired to look like that. I loved it. But as a little girl, I realized, oh, wow, they always kind of made me feel like I wasn't enough. And when I grew up, when I eventually got rosacea and all the things that I was like, why can't I find makeup that works? And then I realized, oh, I've never seen a model with rosacea saying, hey, this is great. And so I had this deep why that came from a lifetime of, I guess, the feeling of not enoughness, where I realized, oh, let me not just create a beauty company, but put real women and men, all different ages, shapes, sizes, skin tones, skin challenges, call them beautiful and mean it, for every little girl out there. Like, maybe I can do this in time to prevent other little girls out there who are about to see these images and start doubting themselves, right? And help shift perspective on what is beauty for every adult who still struggles with that. And so that why was really deep for me. And I think that, for everyone in your community, whether their hopes and goals are to, work as an esthetician and just feel joy in their job for the next 40 years, or maybe their dream is to start their own product line or their own, expand their spa business, whatever it is. I just think peeling back the layers, because a lot of times people will have a why that's like, oh, I want to help people, or I want to
make women look and feel their best.
Yes, I want to make women look and feel their best. That's a great one. I want to pay for my kids' college. It could be any of these things. And they sound so great when you share them with other people. You gotta go deeper. And it doesn't mean it's a different why. It means take that why and start going deeper, because I feel like we have to be doing something that's truly meaningful to us, that's so much bigger than ourselves, to be able to lean on and keep going. And I think that's so important. And that's one of the things that helped me keep going during all the years of rejection. It was tough. And anyone in your community who is starting a product business, I'm excited for them to read the book, because I talk also just about, like all the scrappy things and the unglamorous things and the things that what do you do when people copy your product? What do you do when, all those kind of things. But just having that why to lean back on, I think, is so important. And I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves for like, what's your purpose? And I think we can have several purposes. And I think that they can continue to evolve. My whole life, I thought I was going to, I would watch Oprah growing up, and I thought, oh, one day I'm going to, share other people's stories with the world and have a talk show. And I was working in my dream job, I thought, as a news anchor. And, but when I got rosacea, and when I started realizing there's this need in the beauty industry for products and a whole new message, I had to know, I learned that knowing when to let go of a dream is as important as knowing when to go after one. And my purpose shifted in that moment. And I chose to kind of trust myself in that. And, now as a mom, definitely, definitely. And also just, I had a moment, I don't talk about this in the book at all, but just to share with you, I had a moment about 2 years ago where I'd all of a sudden realized, oh my gosh, I was in my living room for years. We built to bigger offices, over 1,000 employees, sold to L'Oreal. And I was sitting in this corner office that was brand new. It was my first time sitting in this brand new corner office at the It Cosmetics headquarters. And our new offices were over 60,000 square feet. And my office overlooked the whole Manhattan skyline. And I had this huge bathroom. I don't know why I just felt like a bathroom was a big deal. Like I have a bathroom. And it was like an office bigger than almost any home I'd ever lived in. And I sat there in this moment knowing a couple things. And I just was like sobbing in my office going, wow, this is so beautiful. The art on the wall. Where am I? This is not how I was raised. But also, wow, like I made it. Like that dream became this reality. I felt like I was in the movie Devil Wears Prada looking around going, where am I? And I could have stayed there, right? But the mission and the purpose and everything that I had dreamed of, L'Oreal's done such an amazing job at building that out. And, you know, I stayed on as CEO for 3 years post-acquisition, and we doubled the size of the company the first 2 years post-acquisition. The team is incredible. And I sat there in that moment going, oh, wow, right now I could start doing all the cool stuff. Like, right now I'm in this office that the world tells me is what significance looks like. I could now go to all the fancy parties. I could do all these things, but I had I'm on the inside, but then I had this feeling of, oh, but you know, you're supposed to serve in a whole different way that impacts people. You're supposed to share the stuff you've gone through to help other people. Yeah. And I knew it. And it was weird because a lot of people are scared to leave the things that make us feel important or significant. And I knew if I stayed there, it wasn't where I was supposed to be anymore. And it was really hard. I sobbed my eyes out sitting in that office, and I made the decision to step away, and it was really hard. But it's because I felt, to your question, I felt my why and my purpose was transitioning to something new. And I knew if I ever wrote a book, I'd want to donate 100% of the proceeds, which I am, to Feeding America and Together Rising. But I also know that when we really share our stories, you know, that's when we all come together and get stronger and rise higher and go, oh, I don't want to make that mistake. Or, oh, that's how Jamie handled that person telling her she's not enough. I'm not going to let anyone look me in the eye.
Relatable. The book is so relatable. And I mean, you know, we both have suffered miscarriage, and just sharing that, I think for so many women, there's a shame around that, and there's a scary piece around that. And I remember when I told my community, I felt like I had to tell them because I was just going underground. I needed time to heal and couldn't show up in the same way. Yeah. And I received at least 50 emails from women sharing their story and saying thank you and for sharing. And I realized, like, on such a small level, just by me sharing that I went through that and the pain, and that, like, I'm okay and you can keep going and it's normal and there's nothing wrong with you. And so when I was reading that section of your book, I'm like, this is incredible. Just this alone, sharing that, like, this happens and you're okay and you're normal and you can keep going and you can be a huge success and you can have a family, was such a beautiful piece too for women to hear, because that can be devastating. That can stop you from going after your why, you know? So such a big piece.
Yeah. And, you know, it's really hard when we're in the midst of struggle and setback. And I, just to share one thing, I did this kind of big book launch event this week where I invited a couple friends to speak. One of them was Robin Roberts of Good Morning America. And she shared something you just reminded me of that I want to share in case this also as of service inspires, you know, your whole community too. We were talking about our greatest accomplishments and things like that. And she said something, and, you know, Robin has won every award you can possibly win. And she's in the Broadcast Hall of Fame, and she still wakes up all of America, Good Morning America, every single day. She's won every sports award, everything. And she said the things that fulfill her, the things that she is the most proud of in her life, aren't anything she's accomplished. It's the things she's overcome.
Mm.
So the things that literally bring her the most joy, most fulfillment, most that she's most proud of are the things she's overcome.
The
And
biggest opportunity for growth.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
also, yeah, completely. And then just knowing we're strong enough to get through them, and then can be there. Like I'm sure you're sharing your story, you know, helps everyone else process their own experiences, especially people that have been keeping them to themselves or not really sure or feeling alone in them, right? Feeling like it's just them or something's wrong with them. And, you know, when I went through a decade of not being able to carry pregnancy to full term, and had several different times where that was really challenging, and I was hiding it for a long time. None of my employees knew, and we were doing fertility treatments and all the things, and you know, I felt like my body was betraying me, like my body was failing me, and like what was supposed to happen wasn't happening, and there's so many emotions that come with that. And, you know, I had also found out by surprise I was adopted, and there's so many things. But
you guys have to get the book.
You know, you've obviously reached this incredible level of success, and another big theme in the book is goals and being intentional. And my question is, you know, there's a passage early on the book where you discuss goal setting. You even discuss, you know, those keeping, you know, goal setting journals. And I guess my question is, can you be intentional about setting goals and also be someone who's open to enjoying the ride and seeing where the ride takes you? And how do we avoid being detrimentally single-minded?
Yeah, such a good question. I think, and it's funny because in the book, by the way, I don't even know if I've shared this. I'm donating 100% of the proceeds from the book, by the way, all my author proceeds to Feeding America and Together Rising.
Amazing.
I don't know if I shared that. Anyways, we've raised 2.2 million meals so far this week, which is really cool. But so I go there with the mistakes I made, by the way, on burnout, on like all the things. But so I talk about a lot that I did wrong, but to answer your question, one of the things about goal setting, I think this is that really for every person, I think it's so important to enjoy the ride, like to go with it, like set goals. But one of the things I talk about is, you know, a lot of people have a goal and then it never comes to fruition. And I think it's because they don't attach a why to every goal, and not just a why, right? We hear a lot of people say like, oh, what's your why? And companies have whys and mission statements. But a lot of people, especially individuals, and I think this is really important, especially for the Glam Hive audience, anyone who is doing their stylist business, their artistry business, or really just any human being, is that we often will come up with a why for our goal or for our business. And it sounds really good. And when we say it to other people, they're like, oh, that's powerful. And then we stop, but we never actually do the work of like peeling back the layers. Yeah. I think this is really important, and identifying like the why beneath the why. Yeah. And I think that when you have a deep why for what you're doing, I think that it drives you to something greater than yourself. Yeah. So your goals might change, right? You might go with the flow and leave one dream and go after another, but your deeper why for your hopes of impact on the world, I think when they're greater than yourself, I think that's huge. And just one quick example is, you know, for 3 years, I every time I got knocked down or another no, I still get no's all the time. But like every time in those years of not seeing any proof of success, you know, one of the things that kept me going was I had done this work on peeling back the why beneath the why. And I talk about how to do this and believe it in my book a lot, but and here's what I mean. So because I created It Cosmetics, like, you know, I could have just said to myself, oh, my why is to solve my own problems, or my why is to help so many other people who can't find makeup that works for them. Yeah. And if I would have shared that with someone else, that would have been like, oh, that's so great. You want to help a ton of people. And I did want to do both those things. But like, what I did early on was do the work of realizing like, oh wow, my whole life I've seen these, television commercials where everyone's photoshopped, and I always wanted to look like that, but yet they always made me feel not enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if I can create a great product, but also like use all different types of models, right? And what if I could try and do whatever I can to shift the definition of beauty for every little kid out there who's about to see these images and start doubting themselves, and every adult who still does. And I had that deep, it was like peeling back the layers and going deep. And so, I just want to share for everyone who's joining us today, right now, live or watching the replays later, who, is a stylist, is an artist, is a creator, is an ideator, is a human being with a goal. This is one of the most important things. And I see so many people never, ever make it. Like, I've had the blessing of meeting tens of thousands of entrepreneurs now. A lot of them give up or they quit. And a lot of times one of those reasons is they didn't do the work of going deep on why is it for what they're doing? Why are they doing what they're doing? And how is it of service in a way that's greater than themselves?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when we're doing something that's just for us, or just to pay off our house mortgage, or just to, those things sound good, but they're usually not meaningful enough for us to get back up every time it gets really hard and when we get knocked down.
And I think what's so great about the book, with that advice, but the book in general, is your story and what you share in the book. It's so appropriate for budding entrepreneurs. And I think everyone has a little budding entrepreneur inside themselves, but it's just good advice in life. When things get rough, when you get knocked down, which is going to happen, that kind of advice, finding the why, helps you pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and keep going, right?
Yeah. And I think that, one moment in the book, and, I really shared stories that I hope become other things that other people can just put in their own toolbox and pull from when someone literally tells them they're not going to make it, or when they have friends and family. A lot of us have friends and family around us who we love so much, but when we share our hopes and dreams with them, like, they somehow lower our vibration, or like, because they don't dream the same way, or they don't have the same types of ambition, or they see what we're doing through the lens of their own fear or their own lack of experience. And I've heard from so many people, like, I get DMs every single day on Instagram from people saying like, I have these dreams, but my partner just like doesn't support me, or and it's like, it's learning how, I talk so much about this, learning how to love everyone around us, but how to like take our microphone back from certain people on certain topics and not hand it to others. And there's so many things in this book for everybody, really, whether they're an entrepreneur or just someone that has that inkling inside. And the one more thought too to share just really quickly too, Brian, is I don't know if you remember this part in the book, but we were about 2 years into It Cosmetics, and I wouldn't even look at my ATM receipt when it would come out, and I'd have to go get $20 cash.
Yes.
Like, I couldn't handle looking at it. Because I would physically feel ill. I didn't know how we were going to make it. And we got a big call from a potential investor and a private equity company. And I thought like, oh my gosh, this is going to be life-changing. Like, if they invest in It Cosmetics, A, I'm not going to go bankrupt. And B, I bet that they could use, this was a big private equity company. So they had invested in a lot of the products in grocery stores that like have become household names. And like, if they invest in It Cosmetics, maybe they could use their leverage to actually get us into some of these retail stores that keep telling me no over and over and over. I was so excited, and we started doing all the meetings with them, and started the diligence phase, which is when they want you to show them your product pipelines, your all the things, your budgets, your projections. And it got down to the final meeting, and I thought like, this is going to be life changing. And my husband and I flew up for the meeting, and we were standing about 3 feet from the head guy, and they said, congratulations, we love your product, we really believe in it, but it's a no, we're going to pass on investing in It Cosmetics. And when I said, okay, because I'm so used to hearing no at that point, I'm like, can you tell me why? Like, can you give me feedback? Because usually feedback is a gift. And this guy was like 3 feet from me, And he says to me, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I'm like, yes, please. And he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And I remember this moment. Well, first of all, I went in my car and sobbed my eyes out. But before that happened, I remember two things. Like I remember, and I also felt like a lifetime of body doubt and self-doubt like flood my body. It felt like I was staring my own fear straight in the eye when he was talking to me. But I remember this deep feeling in that moment, Brian, when he said that, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. I had this deep feeling, like literally, I remember like it was yesterday, that said he's wrong. Like I just felt it, right? I felt it. And I also, and I know it's what's wild is I never felt anger toward him, or like I didn't even get mad. It hurt, but I didn't get mad because what I realized, like I had done the work on why I wanted to do what I was doing. He was impacted by his whole life of seeing ads and images, and in his own mind, you needed to look a certain way to make him money. So he was just as much impacted as me. And in a way, because I'd done the work on the why beneath the why, all his rejection did, besides hurt and suck and make me cry myself to sleep, it really fueled me to realize, oh yeah, like this, like things do have to change. And 6 years later, by the way, the day L'Oreal acquired It Cosmetics.
I was going to say, I definitely remember this part of the book.
It was so good. It was, and listen, I didn't need anything from him. I believe in life, like we get what we give. And anyways, but it was kind of fun that six years later, I heard from him, and the day L'Oreal acquired It Cosmetics, it was like the homepage of the Wall Street Journal. It was kind of everywhere out there because they announced it because they're a public company. And so he reached out and he said, congratulations, so happy for you. I was wrong. And I learned it would have been the most successful investment in his company's history had he invested. But the other thing, oh gosh, this is like my favorite topic. Anyone who's with us now are going to watch the replays, just to share this before I forget. There's a famous saying, Brian, rejection is God's protection. Some people say rejection's the universe's protection. Anybody who's going through a season of rejection right now or a setback, like for me, it was years of rejection. But when I look back now, even though like when you're in it, it sucks and it doesn't make sense and it doesn't feel unfair, all those things. Like had he believed in me, I was so desperate at the time. I probably would have just given him most of the company for almost no money. But because he didn't believe in me, by the time L'Oreal bought us, we were still the largest shareholder. And so it was like the best. It was the best that he didn't believe in me at the time, even though when we're in that season of rejection,
doesn't feel great.
Doesn't feel great. Yeah.
So I thought this was like a big setback in my life happening. And so many times entrepreneurs out there, right? Things start with a problem they want to solve or an experience they had they weren't expecting or whatever it was. So in that season, I thought, oh, this is the worst thing. Like I finally got a great job in TV. And so anyways, I started spending my paycheck on makeup and like trying to figure it out. And I'd buy the most expensive department stores if I could afford it or get the free samples, or the least expensive drugstore or the pro makeup. And I was like, why is nothing working for me? And then two things happened. One was a deep kind of knowing that didn't make sense because I knew nothing about the beauty industry, nothing. I knew no one, had no connections. I got this like deep kind of inkling, this knowing like, oh, if I can actually figure out how to create a product that works for me, it's probably also going to help a lot of other people that just like me can't find anything that works for them. So I had that instinct. The second thing that in some ways was almost more important, without me realizing it, I right in front of me realized a deeper why behind the why of why I was going to do this business. And what I mean by that is when I couldn't find anything that worked out there, I all of a sudden realized like, oh, my whole life I've seen these magazine ads, these television commercials, and every model in them like has perfect skin. I don't even know if they're wearing the product they're selling. And I realized that my whole, and I know, Dean, you have a daughter, my whole growing up, my whole life, I'd always seen these commercials and these ads, and I always aspired to look that way. But like I also deep down inside they made me feel like I wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And I had this realization, oh, you know what? If I can create a product that works, but more importantly, a mission around using like real people as models, like all ages, sizes, skin tones, like skin challenges, and call them beautiful and mean it. Like, what if I could shift culture in the beauty industry for every little girl out there is about to start learning to doubt herself, and
but she's enough exactly the way she is.
Exactly. Every grown woman who still does. And so it became this like thing that happened where it was like, oh, I have this feeling I'm supposed to do this. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And more than that, this deeper pain, this deeper wound, I realized, oh, if I can actually affect that for other people, that and that kind of deep why was actually what helped fuel the journey, which I didn't know was going to be 3 years of rejection and no's and down to no money and no one believing in my dream.
Yeah. And, it makes total sense. The more I get to know you and the more I hear your story, is it makes sense because you need a deep, strong why to pull you through the millions of no's and being sent out of a place where you probably went out in your car and cried and said, why am I doing this? And all those types of things. I know that journey, we could bypass all the ups and downs and say, and you got to do this amazing deal with L'Oreal. But I'd love to share, again, I have some questions I want to get, but I want people to know the story. I'd love for you to share that story, because the story of when you were rejected and you had the nerve to say, would you mind just telling me the truth on why?
Yeah.
Because I want everybody to listen through this through a lens of knowing that we've all been in this position. We've all had the rejection, told it won't work. We weren't smart enough, weren't pretty enough, weren't young enough, weren't rich enough, weren't educated enough. And we have two choices when those things happen in life. We let it accumulate and we let it build up to a point where you go, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm the wrong size. Maybe I'm wrong shape. Maybe I live in the wrong area. Or we find a way to make it our strength. It becomes the anchor you drag across the desert or the wind behind the sails as you go across the ocean to new frontiers. And I know it's a subtle little difference. And one of the things I hope that I always say in on this podcast is take what serves you from this and put the rest on hold. But in this shifting time of uncertainty in our world where you don't know what's going to change, we don't know what's next. Maybe your career, your life, your business has shifted. We need that. We need to be armored. We need the tools and we need the mindset to go, okay, this was a setback. This was maybe designed for me. As hard as it is, that's a must. If you are listening to me, you want another level of life. And that's why I love having Jamie here. And I really want you to hear this story, but put yourself in these shoes. And then I got some great questions I think will anchor in how Jamie got there.
So, it's funny when you said that one story of rejection, literally like 100 first entered my mind. There were so many, Dean. It was, I thought when you just launch a product, if it works, like it's just going to sell, people are going to get it. And, it was every retailer was saying no, every department's or QVC. My dream was to go on QVC and prove live the product works. I don't need a fake ad. And, I want to show live, right? Those were all my dreams. And every single one of them said no, like for years. And so we got to this point where we were down to under $1,000 in our bank account, which was our company bank account, but also our personal bank account. And we got an inbound interest from a private equity company who saw like how good our product was, right? And because we were selling like 2 to 3 orders a day on our website. So somehow they heard about it. And I was so excited because this was a private equity company that had created so many products most of us buy in grocery stores and things like that, not created them, but invested in them a lot of times when they were small and helped them scale to be household names. And I thought, oh my gosh, like if they invest in us, A, we're not going to go bankrupt. B, maybe they can use their contacts or their leverage to help finally get us into some of these retailers that I'm dreaming of selling my product in, who all keep saying no and we're not the right fit and all that. I was so excited. And so we took meetings. We started the meetings process and it was going really, really well. Then the diligence process where they do like your projections, your financial, all that stuff. We got down to the final meeting and I was like, and my husband and I flew in for it. And I thought like, oh, like I was so excited, right? And because it really sucks when you don't know how you're going to make it, and you have no proof of your own.
You're working straight off of courage, because there's no proof that you're going to make it through this.
You get courage and dollar hot dogs from this Costco stand, and you know what I mean? And it's just like,
been there.
So, yeah. So we flew out, and I was like so fired up. And I'll never forget this. My husband Paulo was standing right next to me, and their head investor was about 3 feet from me, and you know, they're super nice, super kind, everything. And then he says to me, he's like, so we're really rooting for you, and thank you for all this info and all the meetings, and we love your product, but we're going to pass on investing in IT Cosmetics. It's a no. And I remember looking at him, and now I was so used to hearing no, right? So by that point, so I was like, oh, okay. Can you share like why? Like why? Because feedback's almost always a gift. Yeah. And I'll never forget, he was like 3 feet from me, and he goes, well, do you want me to be really honest with you? Like really honest? I was like, yes, please. Absolutely. And he looks at me and he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you, you know, with your body and your weight. And I remember in this moment, like 2 things happened that were for me.
I felt
like
a punch in my stomach just now, so I can't imagine.
Yeah. But like, it was like, I remember it was weird. It was almost like I was watching his lips move and these words come out. First thing is, I felt like a lifetime of body doubt and body doubt and self-doubt, like flood my whole body. But I felt like I was staring my own fear in the eyes, right? Because obviously this was a situation I'm very aware of my whole life, anyone who struggled with body image issues and stuff like that. So I was watching him say that. I felt like I was staring my own fear in the eyes, and I needed to keep my faith bigger than it. But I also got this gut feeling, right? And if we ever truly like do the work of learning to hear that inner knowing, I instantly got this gut feeling while he was talking that said he's wrong. God. But I also knew, like, if I was ever going to prove that, I had to figure out like how to believe it for myself, right? And the other thing that happened was, and I think in life we can, you know, take the route of, oh, poor me, I'm a victim of this dude saying horrible things. It's like, I actually felt I didn't even get mad. What's crazy about it was I realized in that moment, him saying those words, him passing on investing in my company because of my body, my weight, I was like, oh, you know what? This deep why that I know of why I'm doing what I'm doing to help shift culture and beauty, like, he is just a byproduct of the same things I saw growing up. He in his whole life has only learned you have to look one certain way to sell product.
Right. You found a way to actually anchor in your thought process.
I did.
Right. Yeah, like, oh my God, this is more proof that I'm right.
More proof. And I'm like, wow, he was a guy, and some guys do wear makeup. He was a guy who didn't wear makeup. I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like, so he directly wasn't affected by that industry. And even he was he was affected by that industry. Right. And he has daughters too, and all these things. And he was making a decision based on his life experiences that told him what was going to succeed and what wasn't. And I realized how he was impacted by the same thing that was going to now drive me to, right. And again, it was a long time after that meeting where I still got knocked down, said no, all those things. But I used what he said and turned it into fuel, because I knew that my mission mattered. I knew it mattered, even if no one else got it at the time. And not to jump ahead, by the way, but just to share this for anyone who's dealing with a big setback right now, like, I really believe it comes down to our mindset and to how we handle it and to how we don't let it turn into doubt in our own head, learn to turn down the volume on it, learn to turn it up into fuel. Because just to share this, in case someone doesn't listen to the whole show.
A lot of people, they have a vision. Okay, you're going to take a cross-country road trip. Let's use this metaphor. You're taking a cross-country road trip. In your mind, it's going to be beautiful and scenic and perfect, and you're so excited about it. And then, you know what, about halfway through, you kind of look in the back seat and there's Dorito bags and Diet Coke your car is a disgusting mess, and you're about to pee on yourself. You're looking for the next rest stop. You're like so exhausted and so tired. You're like, you need a break. It's just like, yes, you're living the vision. You're on the route. You're on the road. But be okay with the hot mess. Don't take yourself so seriously. And here's the thing I wish I would have said on day one of Vision Week. For all of you, if you had a clue that you were already living a vision beyond comprehension, that you're already living the most gifted, impossible vision. It's like, yes, you have plans, but God has vision, as you say, right? It's like you have to realize if you're watching this, if you're streaming this, if you have the moment of leisure, the beat of the day to get to enjoy us, to be here for encouragement, to have a worldwide community like this come together every day for you free, you have to understand you already are living the vision. Now the ultimate question is, are you enjoying it? Now the ultimate question, are you giving into that? Are you contributing? Are you earning the vision of your life that you've already been granted? Like my story, Jamie, is, I had a car accident when I was 19, which most of the audience knows. And that accident made me have reverence for life, deeply care about life. And the main theme that came away from that for me personally was when I asked and I thought about my life, I was bleeding out on the top of the hood of this car. And in that moment, when I looked down, I felt life draining out, literally. And I wondered, did I matter? And I didn't like the answer to that question. And I looked up and I had this beautiful connection with the moon and the night and God, my creator. And I just remember feeling a breath of fresh air. I knew things were going to be okay. Something happened. And I had this connection. And I just remember my first impulse if you survive something, I don't know how some people, but I survived something. And I just was like, I will earn this. I will earn this blessing of a second chance. I want to earn my life. I will earn my life. I will earn this gift that I have been given. For me, I'm a person of faith, so I believe God gave us life. And I believe that is a blessing. And I want to earn it. And so I'm already here. Are you earning it by enjoying it and taking pleasures in beauty, surrounding nature, life's gifts, the coincidences, the fun, the obligations too? Remember, you wanted the child, okay? It's like, you wanted the career. You hustled the last 5 nights. You have to enjoy it. You're already living the vision if you only knew.
So good. So good. Wow. I think that's huge. Yeah, and I agree with you. People here that are part of Growth Day, that are even just mindful of all this stuff. Yeah, that's huge. They're on the vision. I also think too, Brendan, if you could talk about this a little bit, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I believe, did your car accident happen? Was it somewhere in the Caribbean or Latin or South America? And then didn't you kind of always have this vision one day you would actually live on a island in the Caribbean? And can you talk about like how your experience, if it in any way played part of your vision one day, maybe they were separate, but then also how you spent the years and all of that, having that vision as well, not just to enjoy the day and all those, but just also sometimes it's things, and maybe we never end up living on an island, but just like for you, what did that mean to you? And then how many years went by in between your car accident into when you're now living? We see the behind you, it's so gorgeous out there. But just that whole thing of knowing that vision. I feel like I heard you once share, maybe it was at your event, that, I'll let you tell it. Yeah. That you always kind of thought you'd live on an island one day.
Yeah, the accident happened in the Dominican Republic. I'm a kid from Montana, so this is a super long story, but I'm a kid from Montana, and I'd been depressed and suicidal after a breakup with the girl I loved, my high school sweetheart. And I basically got the opportunity, a job ad, to go down and work in the Dominican Republic. They needed students, basically people to work for free. So I took a student job, went down there, and worked with an entrepreneur from Montana, and got in an accident. And but through that accident, that time down there, I fell in love with the Caribbean. And I mean, I fell in love. I'd never seen anything like it. I'm from Montana, I'm from the mountains, I'm from the hills, I'm from the lakes. I'm a river boy. I was like, what? Fell in love with that turquoise, perfect blue water and ocean. I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I got in that water one time in the Caribbean. I was like, I'm alive. And so I said, I just want to live here. And so I did. I went back to college in Montana, and I ended up having this board. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but I had all these things pinned up. I'm sure you all have these things in your dorm rooms or in your houses. You had these things. So I had all these things pinned up. But if you looked, it was all my pictures from the Caribbean. It was like palm trees and just, I didn't know it was like a vision type board. It was just all these things. And from that time to the time we moved down here would be, let's see, 23 years almost. 20 plus years. I'll do the math in my head in a minute. But in that time, I thought, you know what, Jamie, one day I'll move to the Caribbean. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, why haven't I done it yet? Why am I waiting for retirement to do it? That's Puerto Rico. It's beautiful. I live on a beach. That turquoise water is my morning reality. And it took 20 years. 20 years. But you know what it really took? The decision to do it. Because I could have waited another 15 years. But at some point, you got to go for it. Jamie at some point said, I'm going to start my own cosmetic line. That was crazy. But from that moment you did that to the moment you sold to L'Oreal for $1 billion, how many years was that?
8.
8. Oh, you're so much better at math than I am. Okay, 8 years. So, but it would, if she didn't ship that first product, if she hadn't gone and pitched it, if she didn't try to sell it, 8 years later, she sells the company for $1.2 billion. $1 billion? I always get it wrong. And once you go past $1 billion, it's all just monopoly money in my mind. I don't know. But you got to understand, those 8 years, she also put in an unbelievable, ridiculous amount of work. And difficult days. And I think it's just so important for y'all to understand, sometimes your work and your difficult days, that is living the vision. Don't forget that.
Yeah, it's like there's big picture, long-term vision, right? Because that big kind of mission is what helped me get through all the years of rejection. But then also just, every day you are living the vision. You know what I mean? And I love that you started out today with like a real behind the scenes moment. Which, by the way, let me just keep it real here. I didn't know if you'd ever go there on this morning show, because I met you by doing a keynote speech on your stage with thousands and thousands of people in the audience. I have now had the blessing of hearing from thousands of people that you've inspired, right? There's people that see you on stage. Of course, you're real on stage and all that. I didn't know, though, because it's the first time I think this has ever happened where we're like in our homes and we're going live, and there's no frameworks and scripts, although you certainly share them, which is such a gift. But we're just like, I didn't know how real you're going to be. So when you kicked off this morning, sharing
she sees me dancing in front of 2,000. How more real and vulnerable can you be?
I do.
I'm a horrible dancer, and I'm dancing in front of 2,000 people, not once, not twice, like 8 times a day. Anyway.
So here's my theory. Nobody is a horrible dancer if they fully commit. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen.
Right?
Amen. I'm it out.
Listen, anyone out there, whether you're on a dance floor, you're at a Brendan Burchard event, or anywhere else, if the person fully commits,
gotta commit.
It's the best dancer in the room.
Dancer.
It doesn't matter if they're off the beat. It doesn't matter what's going on or how much space they're claiming. If they commit, it's the best. It's the best. And you commit. So listen, you cannot call yourself a bad dancer. You commit, and you commit on stage fully in front of thousands of people, and you bring the joy, and you cannot fake authenticity. So everyone who is,
you do too. If you all have not seen the gift of Jamie Kern Lima speaking on stage, I mean, obviously she's amazing in this Growth Day morning show, but it is a different thing to see a woman own the stage in front of 2,000 people in such a way that they are crying and they open their heart and they're laughing. And more importantly, they commit to their vision, because they hear Jamie go, she committed. She committed to a vision, and she was okay suffering through our vision for our life, we think is an end game. It's an outcome. It's a day of perfection. Everything goes good. But the question is, are you living into the vision and enjoying it as it's happening? As it's happening is the magical trick, because lots of people get to the end goal and they're not happy.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the end goal. The vision is the journey. The journey is the vision. And so if you can feel it and enjoy it, everyone always asks, are you proud of something in your career, Brendan? And the number one thing I'm proud of, and I can say with true commitment and just knowing the industry, I've done it happier than anyone I know. Any of my legends, I'm happier. Any of the people I've had, I just know I'm happier throughout the journey. After, this is my 20th year. I don't know anyone who's been happier along the way, and did it their authentic way, their style. And I'm not saying, because look at me, I'm saying I made sure that happened. I said, bring the joy. I wear a shirt that says, bring the joy. Because sometimes I'm a grumpy bear in the morning. Ask Denise. I'm like, just because I'm a night owl. So some days I wake up as the grumpy bear. Night owls are sometimes grumpy bear in the morning. So I'm just like, actually not grumpy. I just say non-communicative, just more like. So I think it's important, y'all. Live and enjoy the vision. You are.
And I think you sharing that you've done it that happy for this long is such a victory. And I just want to say, those of us who, we can make changes to do that. And I'm just speaking as someone who spent a lot of years working 100-hour weeks, and I forgot to enjoy a lot of moments. Like I forgot to celebrate some big wins when they were finally happening. And I'm making shifts in my life right now to enjoy the day more, to bring the joy more, to feel it more. Like truth is, Brendan, in the middle of this book launch, like my book comes out in 3.5 weeks. And so what I'm doing right now is all day press. This morning, I was so tired. I put makeup on top of yesterday's makeup that I fell asleep in for press today. Now, the me before in the past would be like, I would have thoughts of like, I hope this is going to look okay. Now I'm like, this is freaking funny, because how cool is this that I'm just going to like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to think that it's actually part of the journey, that I'm like blessed enough to have press happening where, you know what, I'm tired, but I'm going to show up anyway, I fell asleep in my makeup, but put makeup on top of makeup so that I have all day press, but I'm going to enjoy it and it's the journey, right? Imperfectly. So you in your underwear with smoothie, me with my 2 days of makeup in a row, and I'm going to pray that the press goes well today for the book launch. But it's in it. We're all in it. And I love
showing up for it.
Yeah.
Showing up for it. Showing up. Shout out to Larry King, my mentor and friend who died this Saturday. I've got this clip of him and I talking, and he just goes, those who succeed, they just show up for it more, and we're showing up for the vision. Jamie and I have this vision. We're going to encourage people. It doesn't mean every day we show up with a complete plan and a framework and our messaging figured out. Sometimes it's like we're just, she's getting the final makeup thing applied, and I'm like getting the shirt on. Like it's you have to understand. Just be in the vision, live the vision each day. Even if it's not the whole day, even if it's not perfect. Her and I are both gonna have to do administrative crap and emails, just like you're all gonna have to do today. But we start the day with intention to be in the vision of personal growth. This is what Growth Day is about. Growth Day. We literally started, I actually own growth.com, the website, but we started the brand and said, no, we're gonna call it Growth Day. We're going to call it Growth Day. We want to remind you every day is a day to start anew, choose a new attitude, take the next action, learn more, say sorry, show up with joy, reset, forgive, start something. Every day is a good day to grow. Growthday.com. That was so huge for me. I want people to know every day is that chance. Every day you can earn it. Every day you can earn this life. Every day you can earn that vision. Every day you can be part of it, enjoy it, and feel it. Even if you have down days, bad days, suck days, difficulties. Jamie and I are working our tails off. I'll share one last idea. Jamie's launching a book in 4 weeks. It's called Believe It. I hope you will pre-order. I know tons of you guys already have, so thank you. Make sure you order Believe It. on Amazon. It's for
I
pre-order.
sleep with it now. It's always next to me.
You got to show it all the time. Yeah. So go make sure you pre-order on Amazon. But listen to this. Jamie, I want to tell you this. This is such a huge compliment to you, and I hope you can receive it. The month that your book comes out, another 15,000 books will be released. Like major trend books, if you will, from major publishers and mid-tier publishers, 15,000 some books. We're not even talking about the self-published or just the post on Amazon or people put in PDF on their websites. No, straight up major publishers, mid-tiers. We're talking about 15,000 books that month. The reason Jamie's going to be on the New York Times bestseller list is because she hungers for that vision and will do what is required for it, even though it's hard. And I want to say this. A lot of people woke up today with the same vision you have for life. You got to ask yourself, are you earning it? Because they're going to say, I'm going to hustle today. I'm going to earn it today. Someone will outwork you. Someone will outperform you. Someone will desire. Someone will get to work. Someone will go for it because that vision to them means something. They're committing it, living it on the daily, even when it's hard, more than you. That's why Growth Day, on the daily, that vision commitment. So you want that extraordinary outcome. I promise, out of those 15,000 people being published next month, very few of them, 10 will be on the New York Times bestseller list that week out of 15,000. Jamie's going to be there because she committed that vision a year and a half ago and has slayed every day, even though it hurts. So I'm telling you all, commitment to that vision. Jamie, I'm so proud of you for how hard you've worked because you don't need to. You don't need to, but you want this book to change lives, and it will, guys. So make sure you pre-order it. Believe it. Jamie's book on Amazon. I'm so proud of you, Jamie. You're crushing.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Jamie Kern Lima! Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.